Hello world, it's me again, J. Paul. That's right, from the window to the wall. You know what it is. Episode 3, number 3. That's right. Here with another special guest, a very inspirational sister who will be sharing her testimony and her journey in ministry as well as parenthood. You don't want to miss this one. Stay tapped in. I'm here with my guest, Melisha. That's it. Miss Melisha. Oh, pardon me, no miss. I'm sorry. Melisha.
Kids call me Miss Melisha. Whatever works.
How are you today?
I'm doing all right. How are you?
All is well. How's life treating you?
Life is full. Yeah, in every way you can imagine full. So full house, full schedule, full-time job, full-time ministry, just full.
Yeah, so man, tell us about that, man. So, we hear people say full life. And like you just mentioned, full-time schedule, full everything is, it's a lot of what the young people call motion going on.
Motion, yeah.
Yeah. So how do you adjust to that? Is it a new thing for you, or have you always been active?
After
Definitely I've always had like a full schedule.
3 Melisha.
For sure. But when you are single and don't have kids, a full schedule is just, you can cut it out, you can roll with it. A full schedule just feels good, because you don't have any other competing priorities with that. Now that I'm a mom, a full schedule just feels full. And with constant competing priorities, and it's easier, when you're single. I'm still single, but when you're just one person living, somewhat for yourself, for the Lord, but still, the decisions you're making are mostly affecting you alone. So it's not as, it's just in that regard. But when I think about fullness now, there's so much responsibility, but there's also so much reward that has come with that responsibility. So it's not just the fullness of busyness or, a social life. It's the fullness of worship. It's the fullness of mothering. It's the fullness of, walking with others through their trials and tests and tribulations. It's the fullness of, being at work, 40 hours a week. But again, all the rewards that come from that. So it's more like if you're a gardener and you're harvesting your crop, it's a lot of work, but the harvesting is plentiful. It's more than what you planted, at the beginning of the season.
Yeah, absolutely. And some people complain about that. Yeah. Some people get tired, but I mean, that's a part of our purpose, right?
Yes.
We ask to be used. Busy is a part of the ministry.
Yes. Yeah. Jesus said, I'm always doing what the Father is doing, right? So especially when they came to him and, talking about you on the Sabbath working, you on the Sabbath healing. He's like, yeah, because my Father is healing on the Sabbath. My Father is moving and working. So the Bible talks a lot about idleness, not being good for you, not being good for the person. But busyness for the wrong purposes can also be consuming. But when you are busy doing what the Lord has called you to do, the Spirit of God is there to help you. And so he enables you to do things, that you otherwise wouldn't be able to do, because we are limited. We're limited in patience. We're limited in time, strength, abilities, all of that. And so, but when you're doing what the Lord has called you to do, he equips you to do that. And not just equips you, he actually energizes you. His Spirit gives you what you need to actually get it done.
We sometimes ask for things, and when we receive them, we don't recognize that it is what it is we receive, or we ask for it because it doesn't look like what we ideally thought it would ideally be in our mind.
Yes.
So have you ever experienced anything like that?
All day, every day. I mean, the Lord had to check me. From the time I was 8, I have been planning my family, husband, children. I had names for kids that that didn't even exist. Ideal, right? And throughout life, the Lord just showed me how much of an idol that was. And I had a couple pregnancies. I had a son. He was born alive, but he passed a few hours after he was born. And then I had another pregnancy that didn't make it as well. And so, there's a lot of hurt and pain in that, just a lot of confusion and just doubt and resentment, towards God, that he did not allow, that dream that I have been chasing to come to pass. And then 2020 he decided, oh yeah, I'm gonna give you 4 children. And so interesting enough, when my son passed, the Lord spoke to me that night when I cried out to him and said, I give and I take away. And I didn't know, I was living very carnal at that time. So I knew Jesus, but, I wasn't living for Jesus. And he said to me, yeah, I give and I take away. And in that moment, I was humbled. I knew it was the voice of God. And I was just like, dang. And I didn't know exactly where that came from. Later, I found out it came from the book of Job. So it was interesting about him saying that to me in that moment, I give and I take away. Well, if you read to the end of the book of Job, right, Job lost everything, children, everything. And then it says the Lord gave him back double that which was taken away. And so I lost 2 children and now I have 4.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Now, speaking of moving, let's go back. Where did the journey begin?
Well, the journey began in Miami, Florida. I was born. My dad was in the military. He was in the Air Force. And so from the time I was 3 months old, we were traveling. We lived in Guam, lived in Miami a couple different times. The Miami Area Homestead Air Force Base. We lived in Okinawa, Japan. We lived in California in the desert. And then we moved to Arizona when I was 12. So did a little bit of traveling first few years of my life. And then, we landed here when my dad retired.
So what was that like? Adjusting to all the changes.
Yeah, so I think I got used to that. As an adult, I could look back and be like, yeah, I rarely stay at a job for a very long time. I think I was used to just okay, every few years it's time to move. If you sit somewhere too long, it's it's not good, or it just doesn't feel right. And so to be settled, but as a kid, yeah, you hated it. I hated it anyway, the moving and having to make new friends and saying goodbye, to friends and things like that. But there was something that the Lord did even in that, which was just blessed me to experience life outside of America, experience other cultures, other ways of doing things, customs and food, all that. So it's just that experience alone, the Lord has used, that's another seed he planted early on in life that he's just continuing to cultivate and replant in my life. Again, I can see that even with my own children. They are all Hispanic, Mexican, and I am not. and so just even that, just how the Lord is just continuing to harvest all the seeds that he planted, the places that he put me in, and all the things that he had already predestined for me to do and experience in my life. I'm starting to see a lot of it, the fruit of that coming to pass.
Do they speak English? How is it adjusting to that? Do you speak Spanish or what?
Yeah, well, so they speak English. They were raised pretty Americanized. They don't know any Spanish. I know more Spanish than they do. But I was speaking Spanish before I even got them. I think that's interesting too. I think about just how the Lord just impressed on me to learn Spanish, even from before I had my children. I took it, in high school and I think I took it in college too. But I've always been around friends who spoke Spanish. I had to work with families, who were of Hispanic ethnicities, and so learning Spanish was helpful for me for work, but also in friendships and things of that nature. So so the fact that he gave me Mexican children is it's a him thing, you know what I mean? Totally him.
Hey, that's God. He said he give you different new tongues, speaking new tongues. Hey, that's a beautiful thing though, man. But on a serious note, just stepping into that arena, did you have any examples of women that have been in your shoes?
As far as having examples, living, breathing examples of my specific situation, no. But I had a lot of help from different women, young and old, or older, I should say, who, just brought different gifts, different abilities, and they've helped me mother my children, because I guess, the way I was raised didn't necessarily prepare me for mothering children who have experienced trauma the way my children have experienced trauma. So it's not I could really draw from how my mom raised me. And you take parenting classes, especially when, I fostered my children before I adopted them. And so there's different classes that you take, but I don't know, none of it really prepares you to deal with the things you actually see in your home.
Does that make it easy, kind of knowing that that's a part of community?
Yes, I mean, the Lord did something amazing. He actually put my little community together right before I got the kids. And so it was just really interesting how he did it, especially because it was COVID. It was the beginning of COVID.
Oh, okay.
And I had been in that house for like a year, going on a year. And when I bought my previous house, the Lord had said to me, I'm going to be sending people to you. And whoever I send to you, is looking for me, not you. And I remember just feeling like, whoa, like, what does that mean? Like, how am I supposed to manage that, but also like, okay, Lord, you said it, you're going to do it. So then, I wasn't even in that new home for even like, not even 2 months before literally the Lord started sending people to me. So there was a single mom with four kids who needed a place to stay. She had just gotten her kids back, from DCS custody and needed a place to stay. My godson needed a place to stay. There was a young lady who was pregnant, needed a place to stay. So it was just different people, but I never like solicited like any of my bedrooms because I was actually going to become a foster parent. I was like, okay, I got this house, I can foster a couple kids. And the Lord told me no. And I was like, what do you mean no? Like, he was like, yeah, I'm sending people. And I'm like, okay. Just had different people, just like one would leave and another would come. One would leave and another would come. So, it was June 2020 on my couch, and I was like, I don't know how I'm gonna get through COVID, like, because I was serious. I wasn't going nowhere. I wasn't really talking to a lot of folks, or like just being out there, everything, like for church wise and stuff was online. And so it was like, he was like, well, invite people over. And I was like, invite people over? What? It's COVID. I didn't invite nobody over. But what had happened was like in April or May, of 2020, I started volunteering on Saturdays at the outreach program for the church that we were attending at the time. And so I had met some people through that ministry. And so I just had like a little game night to like just, celebrate all that God had done in that year of me living in that home and all the people he had, allowed to come in and bless, just in my home, that small little house. It was barely 1,000 square foot house, 3 bedrooms. So, but I'm telling you, we were full. It was full. Yeah. So I was like, okay, I just sent out a text to the people, who were in that ministry as well. And I just said, hey, I'm just going to do a little game night. Y'all are welcome to come by and hang out. So literally the people who came that night, so that was a Friday night. Saturday, I woke up and I had this weird, like, just feeling on the inside of me, like an expectancy. Like I didn't know what it was, and I had already been struggling, like, do I continue to doing this outreach ministry? Like I didn't feel like I was connecting with the unhoused population. So I would just like be in the kitchen helping out or be like stocking the pantry, but like engaging with like the unhoused people that we were serving. I get called out to go pray for this couple, and I'm praying with them, and they're saying that they want to get help with getting clean. And I was like, okay. Well, I know, a few different programs. I had worked at the governor's office or as a AmeriCorps Vista. And so I knew of like this one program they had called Angel Initiative, where you could like basically like turn yourself in, say you need help, and then they won't take your kids. Like it was a whole program. But apparently when I tried to get them connected to that program, it was no longer how it was, when I had initially learned about it. And so I was like, okay, well, detox is about 2 or 3 days. They had the 2 babies with them. So I thought that was the only kids they had. So, I was like, if you can't find anybody to take care of your kids for the 2 or 3 days you're detoxing, I'll watch them, just so they don't go into the system. So I knew of certain like substance use programs that would either take you and your children or make sure your children can go to a safe family while you get clean.
Did you know the kids?
No, I had never met them before that day.
Oh, wow.
So, I was just like, I was like, absolutely, if you can't find anybody else. But I was thinking, they got somebody. They got an auntie. They got a grandmama. They got somebody. I just said, I'll be the last case resort. You know what I'm saying? So then after I agree to that, they tell me there's 2 more kids. And I was like, oh, snap. So anyway, so me and another sister were, working with them. I was calling different places trying to see, okay, can we get them in here? Can we get them in there? So then we take them to go get their other 2 kids. We go and pick up the older 2. I'm sitting in the car because I'm like, I'm just driving and I'm just trying to figure out how to get these people into the right program, get mom and the kids into a program, a long-term program where she can stay with her kids and continue her journey, with her children.
Right.
That was my plan. So I was like, okay, well, I guess I gotta get my house ready for 4 kids. So I had told the oldest, I'll come pick you guys up tomorrow afternoon. So some places you can get in, like they have grants, like certain places have like substance use grants, like federal grants or state grants to do substance use treatment. So it just depended, so we went to like 4 different programs. Yeah, I mean, definitely there's a need for substance use treatment facilities, inpatient and outpatient. But even more so, there's just a greater need for community. It's like how we were talking about. People who have substance use disorders are lacking connection. They're lacking good support systems. And, and then within themselves, they're lacking poor coping skills. So there's a lot that needs to happen. So even just getting substance use treatment isn't the answer. It's, it's everybody's, I want to say problem to solve, but it is. It's everybody's responsibility. And I think in our individualistic society, we don't see it that way. We see, they made those choices. That's why they are where they are. But like my children, like growing up in a home that is not healthy, like, or an environment where those things are just normal or normalized, I should say, they don't see another way. Many people don't see another way. And so it's not enough to just say, they need substance use treatment. They need a community.
Have they been adjusting pretty well to your care?
It's going to be a long journey. So like you said, they didn't have structure. They didn't have routine. They were left home alone a lot. They were left home with homeless people. They were exposed to drug use. They were used to just kind of running the street. They were not used to eating. A few weeks ago, every now and then they'll tell me a memory that I'm just like, it blows my mind. But to them, it was like nostalgia. Like they were sharing that memory with me, like we miss doing that. But that's literally what trauma does to the brain. It rewires it. And it tells you that these things that are unhealthy are good. Or, it allows you to attach to it good feelings and good, just those good feelings, even though the situation is bad. And I think it happens for most people as a coping mechanism. Like, you know what I mean? Like you can see and know that this isn't good, but you have to associate it with something good in order for you to continue to do it. Do you know what I mean? And in order for you to feel like you can survive in that environment. And so it makes sense that a lot of the trauma they experience, they've, somewhat romanticized, or they've somewhat made like good, in their minds, like when they look back,
right.
And it probably felt like an adventure to them at the time. They were young. So to them, it didn't seem, and maybe they had to say that it was something fun or an adventurous so that they didn't feel fear. Like I could imagine like their initial emotion was fear. Now if I try to get them to talk to a stranger, they're like, oh no, I can't, And
they know the difference now.
Yeah.
God bless you, for pouring out your heart to those children, because, and it's always been my belief that all children belong to all of us. And I think that we all are called to do God's work. Yeah. And in order for us to be of any aid to anybody, we have to be doing God's work.
Amen. I mean, The Lord He's faithful, and regardless of what the situation is, or when He desires to do something in you, when you become a willing vessel, He's going to do it. It's just you getting out of the way. That's really what it is. Because
you too had a calling on your life. God called you. When was that?
It's been 11 years since then. And that was a hard season. I kept telling him no. I told him no for like a year straight. Like he wouldn't stop. He would not stop chasing me. And I just kept saying, no, like I'm here on Sundays, I'm worshiping you. Isn't that enough? like don't be asking me to preach. First of all, Lord, I lived most of my life as a liar. Now you want me to preach the truth? Like, no, like you are truth. Like I can't, like I cannot. You are too holy. I'm the wrong person. I'm not good enough. Stop chasing me.
Didn't feel worthy. Huh?
Did not feel worthy at all. The minute I said yes was the minute I was like, oh, can I take it back? And he was like, yeah, no. So a few days later, I was at church and one of the deacons walked up to me and was like, "Do you hear God calling you?" And I was like, all I could do was just hang my head.
Oh wow.
In shame. And I was like, ugh. I was like, dang, Lord, you won't even give me a couple days to rethink it. He was like, yeah, no, we're going to confirm this right away. Yeah, so I told the deacon, don't tell the pastor. I still need to pray about this. And he's like, oh, the pastor and I have already been talking about it. And I was like, oh.
Were you always in church? Or?
No. So as a kid, we would go to church here and there. Like I said, I think the first time I had an encounter with Jesus, I was about 8. We were living in Okinawa, Japan. And the folks from Maranatha Baptist Church would come and pick me and my sister up and take us to church. Every now and then my parents would go, and my older siblings. I remember going a few different times, but most of the time it was me and my sister, who's just a year older than me. And they would come on base, pick us up, take us off base, and we would go to church. And I remember doing altar call at 8. And it was crazy because so much of my life was just a mess already at that age. I had already been molested, and my parents used to fight all the time, and there was always something going on. And my siblings, we were a blended family, a very blended family, and so there was just always a lot of drama. And my dad was deployed a lot, so sometimes he wasn't there, and just different things. And he worked a lot when he was there. So anyways, it was just different. And I just remember peace. Just this overwhelming feeling of peace around that age. Somebody was listening, somebody was watching, somebody understood me. Because I never felt like I belonged to my family or anywhere else. And so there was a sense of I belonged to somebody. I just didn't know. I knew they were talking about Jesus, but it was more of a feeling at that point than Jesus, And then we moved to California, and when I was 10, the Lord started speaking to me through dreams. But again, I didn't associate that with him specific. I knew these dreams were not from me or normal dreams. He started talking to me through that and showing me different things. And that was all the way up until, even still, he still speaks to me through dreams or shows me things in dreams. And so that was kind of my first experience with him. So I got baptized when I was 20. Yeah. My mom was I had started going to church in Phoenix, and my mom was sick. She had already gotten sick at that point, and she was already paralyzed, and she was living in an assisted living place. And I would go to church on Sunday, and I would go to Wednesday night Bible study, and I'd be like, "Oh, Mama, guess what I learned?" Because at that time she had started listening to the Bible on tape, because my mom was also blind, so she couldn't read, but she would listen to the Bible on tape. And she just when we were little, if we went to church, my mom was the one who was we're going to church today. But it wasn't all the time. And we had the big Bible, the big family Bible in the house, but we didn't read the Bible. We would say our grace, but that was it. My mom did teach me Psalm 23 though. I remember I used to be afraid at night, and she taught me to pray Psalm 23. And the Lord still is just harvesting fruit just from that seed. And so got baptized. The only my dad wasn't there, none of my family was there. It was a cousin, she's sort of a cousin, I call her cousin, and then 2 of my friends at the time were there when I got baptized. So that was 20. But then from 20 to 27, I was just living very carnally, going to church, doing what I saw everybody else doing. You go to church on Sunday, you go to Bible study, you sing in the choir, you help out with the kids, but all week long, you're just living however you want to live. You know what I mean? So that was what I was doing, just doing what other people were doing. So when he started chasing me, for real, no, I want to set you apart for me, I was I just started thinking about all the things I had done and all the ways that I was not like him. So I finally reached out to the pastor, at that time, and said, hey, I do believe the Lord is calling me, to preach and to teach his word. And he was like, okay. He said, continue to pray and I'll be in touch. And I was like, what? That was weird. So it was just very interesting. But, eventually a few months later, I was licensed to preach and did my initial sermon. I know it was Timothy, because that was the scripture the Lord gave me. Do not let them despise you because you are young. So I know that was the text but I cannot remember the title of that sermon. But yeah, since then, me and the Lord, we've been rocking together. I have not been perfect in that walk, but the Lord has been faithful. Mm-hmm. Yeah, He's been faithful. But yeah, so it's kind of where it started.
Raising your children up in the Word. Like, what's that like? What has that been like? It's
not what you say, it's what you do. I know we got raised to say, don't do what I do what I say, don't. So, but no, it is what you do. The children are watching. They're learning. We're imitators. The word even says, be imitators of God, not reciters. It's not, and the Bible says, right, don't say you love in word, but not in deed, so it's teaching me a lot because I have my own trauma, and then their trauma together, it's just not always pretty, but I have to humble myself. I can't look to them. They are the most vulnerable, of us, I have the power. So I have the authority. So I have to lay that down in raising them. But that's not how we were raised.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so that's the hard part, the control, power struggles. I would just say don't get into the power struggles with the children. Life will teach them. Your words should be enough. I agree 100%. But I decided I don't want to be a parent that threatens their kids or makes their kids feel threatened. Even when I'm upset with them, I sit down. I don't stand over them. I don't use demeaning words towards them. I don't cuss at them. Well, I've said the A word. Get your A over here. But
I think that's just fact.
Yeah. So it's funny though, because I had stopped cussing altogether for years, and then I got kids, and all those words I thought I had erased from my vocabulary. Yeah. All of a sudden came back up, and I was like, "Oh snap! Where did you come from? I haven't said you in a minute." So it's the pressure. It's the pressure. You want to do good. You want to be a good parent, but listen, we are fallen. And we have sin on the inside of us that is contrary to us raising our kids. That's the thing I've realized. The enemy does not want me to love my children, not just raise them. The enemy does not want me to love them. Wow. And that's the thing I've been dealing with lately is how am I showing up in love? Am I being sent to my children? I don't think we wake up thinking, oh, the Lord is sending me. I'm sent by Him. So it's different, because if I just wake up in my life and I'm just making my choices, then I just make my choices. I just go throughout my day doing that. But if I wake up and I'm I'm being sent to my children, it changes how I wake them up. It changes how I instruct them. It changes how I support them. It changes how I spend time with them. All of that. It changes when I realize, no, I'm being sent to them. And same thing with work or anything else. I'm being sent to work. I don't go to work. The Lord is sending me. He's using me. He desires for me to speak into them, and or to be that light. And so it matters. It totally matters. And so the Lord has just been dealing with me lately. Yeah, don't wake up I don't want to do this. I don't want to do that. I'm tired. They can get themselves ready. They can make their own breakfast. He's no, I'm sending you. Yeah. You are being sent. And so it changes. It does. It changes your heart. It changes your heart posture, changes your perspective. When you realize my life isn't my own. I don't run nothing. I have no control. They might act a fool all day long from the time they wake up to the time they go to sleep. I have no control over that.
Right.
There are consequences. Listen, my kids don't run the house, but at the same time, I'm not lording it over them. That I'm their parent.
Right. God bless your heart, man. So, man, is there any way that people can reach out to you for any prayer, any words of encouragement, scriptures, encouragement? How can people get in contact with you?
I guess if you're for real, don't reach out to me if you're not for real.
Well, just social media contact.
Yeah. No, but that's what I'm saying, because I don't check Facebook often. I don't have it downloaded on my phone. So when I log on, and if I see someone's reaching out to me, I'm just asking you be genuine. You know what I'm saying? you're genuinely reaching out because you are. Yeah, I love praying for folks. I heard something the other day on a podcast, like, your need makes my joy. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, so it brings me joy to intercede. It brings me joy to meet a need that the Lord has prepared me to meet. Like, I love that. Please reach out. And if it's not me, reach out to somebody. You know what I mean? So yeah, if you're lacking that, for sure, reach out. Melisha Renee Alhambra. That's how you can find me on Facebook. My email address is melisharenee@gmail.com. So that's melisharenee@gmail.com.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for the word and the God in you. Thank you for inviting me to your beautiful home. Yeah. Indeed, man. Until next time, man. May God continue to bless you and your family in every good way. Amen. Right on. We go. Yes, indeed. Another great episode. I told you. I'm sure someone will be blessed by that word. Was it a word? Because I feel blessed by it, so it must be. I'm just saying. But hey, man, thanks for being with me once again. After the break, DJ Paul, from the window to the wall. Stay tapped in for episode 4. You won't want to miss that one either. I guarantee. Till next time, respect and salute.